Hey guys, it's me, Pokemon. I'm back, and today I want to talk to you guys about whether or not I feel Marvel Strike Force is free-to-play friendly. So some of you guys watch my channel. Hopefully, this topic I think is relatively broad, but I think people like this. I think there might be some people coming to the channel to watch this that don't usually watch my videos. So you might be wondering, what are my qualifications to talk about this? Well, I grew up in a world of mobile games. I've been playing mobile games most of my life. I've played pretty much every Marvel mobile game that has ever actually, I think I have played every Marvel, even Puzzle Quest. I played Puzzle Quest. I played games like there's like a Tiny Heroes game that closed down. I played that. I played pretty much all of them, so I have a pretty good idea of how these games generally work, when do characters come, all that kind of stuff about Marvel mobile games. And recently, after the Jubilee update, people have been saying Marvel Strike Force is not free-to-play friendly, and I wanted to talk about whether or not I felt Marvel Strike Force is free-to-play friendly. So for those of you that don't know, I'm not free to play. I'm not technically free to play, but I've spent maybe $10 on this game, $15 on this game. And from my perspective, I feel this game is pretty free to play friendly. So end of the video right there, you guys can go home, but I'll talk about some more if you do want me to. So first off, character availability. So every character comes to this game, and when they first come to the game in release month, like for example this month, Ghost, Stature, and Yellow Jacket came out. You have one character that's an event campaign, that was Stature. You have like one character who's usually a 45 shard unlock, so you get them from the 2 blitzes they run for the character, so that's Yellow Jacket. Assuming you're not going to get above like I think like the 60 to 80 milestone where you get 15 shards, assuming you're not getting above that rank. And then Ghost, so they have like a 100 shard unlock character and they do 2 blitzes, so this is where it gets a little complicated. Those characters, you'll probably have to buy like 2 or 3 of their orbs to unlock them that month. But I have so far been able to do that my whole time playing this game with the power cores I'm just given for free. So, that's sort of something to keep in mind right there. I really haven't had to buy power cores in order to get those last couple shards for the 100 shard unlock characters. And that's because every month that's not necessarily what happens. Sometimes that third character will be through a milestone, like Negasonic Teenage Warhead or Emma Frost. And what's really nice is, generally speaking, characters will become actually farmable in some kind of campaign node or in some kind of store roughly 2 to 3 months after they come out. They've guaranteed at least one character becomes farmable every month. So for free-to-play players, at least every month you'll have a brand new character, 2 characters farmable. You'll have one character from the event campaign and then one character just becoming farmable in the game. Usually more than one character becomes farmable in a month. For example, this month Taskmaster and Red Skull become farmable, and then Beast I think is going to become farmable this month, because they did mention to keep our ears out for Beast becoming farmable. So you have 3 characters becoming farmable this month. Not an uncommon occurrence, especially when characters are needed for a legendary event. They'll make those characters farmable very quickly. We saw that with the Sinister 6 event, where the X-Force members were needed for Dr. Octopus. They made the X-Force members farmable really quickly because you needed them for the legendary event. The closest thing you have to unobtainable characters in the game are 3 categories. You have premium orb exclusive characters, and those are Minerva and Yo-Yo. Those are 2 characters you can only get from premium orbs. So I'm not a huge fan of that system, gonna be honest, don't really like that. Luckily, you only need to get 3 drops for the character to unlock them, and then you can use them in the game. Minerva has a percentage, like she'll drain 15% of enemies' health, so it doesn't matter what star rank she is, it's 15% no matter what. Yo-Yo, all you really need her to do is apply that offense down, so as long as you get her to a power level that she can do that consistently, that's all you need. So it's not the end of the world if you can't get those characters up to high star rank. Ideally, I would like those to not exist, especially when I consider Minerva not that, she's still a really good character, but I don't think it's like Black Widow. Black Widow used to be unfarmable, and she wasn't that good anymore, so they made her farmable. I think Minerva's reaching that point where she's still good, but like, come on guys, let's be real, is Minerva really top tier anymore? I think there's a lot of characters that are much more helpful, like Phoenix, Black Bolt. You have some like Ebony Maw. You have some really big characters in this game, and while Minerva is useful, I think there are some much bigger fish in the sea right now than Minerva. It's like Dr. Doom, he's in the game now. There's some big characters compared to Minerva, so I definitely think they shouldn't put any more premium or exclusive characters, and if anything, they should move characters out of premium or exclusive. But all you need are 3 drops for those characters, because at minimum 15 shards drop for a character in premium orb. So it's not the end of the world. You can get them. That's how I got Yo-Yo. I got her through premium orbs. It's not ideal, not a huge fan of the system, but there's only 2 characters in the game, and even then they're not like the top characters in the game. And for characters like Yo-Yo, you really don't need her until you're running Black Bolt and stuff like that, and you're not going to get Black Bolt until much later in the game. So if you're a brand new player hopping in, you have a ton of time to get Yo-Yo out of the orbs before you truly need her. Then we have legendary characters. Those are, I'd consider, pretty free to play friendly. For example, right now, you can see at the bottom, I do not have Dr. Octopus or Ebony Maw. Those are 2 legendary characters I do not have, but I have all the other ones. Really, as a free-to-play player, you're not going to be able to get the legendary character the first time they come around. Usually the way it works is that, like, for example, we have a legendary coming next month, probably, in Jubilee. They haven't announced who her characters are going to be, but it's probably going to be Pimtech. So they're going to make Pimtech farmable roughly December, January, probably late December, early January. If you're a whale, you'll get them leveled up to 5-star and you'll unlock Jubilee. If not, you'll have them up to 5-star by the time Jubilee comes around next time. So I'd consider legendaries pretty free to play farmable in the grand scheme of things. I think by definition, you know, free to play, you're saying, I'm not going to spend money, but I'm accepting the fact that things are going to take me a little longer to do. And I think legendary characters are the perfect example of that. I think they are pretty, reasonable to obtain without spending money, but if you want them quicker, you can spend some money. Then finally, I'd argue the most paywall locked characters in this game are the Dark Dimension characters. There's only 2, Ultron and Dr. Doom. I consider Ultron relatively obtainable nowadays with how they're making gear available and stuff like that. I think Dark Dimension 2 is much more reasonable to clear nowadays. Dark Dimension 4 with Dr. Doom, that's another story. It'll probably be many years before you ever get to unlock Dr. Doom. They do not have mini uniques farmable at the rate I want them to be farmable at yet to unlock these characters, but it's only 1 character in the game and they're technically obtainable. It's just really painful to get them, and most people won't get them, and I'd assume a hefty amount of the player base will never ever get Dr. Doom. So that is 1 character I guess you could make a little bit of an argument they are not free to play, but that's 1 character out of what, like 160 characters or something like that. And even then, most of the player base doesn't have them either, so it's not like there's somebody that has a better characters than you. Nobody has Dr. Doom right now. Even the biggest whales in the game don't even have Dr. Doom right now. So I don't think that's that bad, especially when you start comparing this to games like Future Fight. Future Fight had systems where you can only unlock characters if you spent money. They had 2 different subscriptions you had to buy that would have exclusive characters, and they had a mutant one and a non-mutant one. The only way you could get these characters is by buying that subscription, and it was only purchasable with real money. Now I know some of those characters they have slowly made like 1 bio at a time farmable in the game, like with their random drops, but I don't really consider that farmable. There's still a lot of money exclusive characters in Future Fight. Future Fight, they'll have the characters that are only purchasable with crystals, like Iceman in that game. You can only purchase them with like 3,000 premium currency, and you don't even have them maxed out at that point. So I think when you compare Marvel Strike Force to Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Strike Force is in a much better position. If you look at Contest of Champions, I'd argue the other biggest Marvel game, that's all random drops. They all drop through crystals. I absolutely despise that system. I'm not a fan of that system at all. At least in this game, you can farm out most of the characters that you want. You don't have to just get them randomly through crystals. I consider that more free-to-play friendly than a game like Contest of Champions. In terms of content, how do you stack up against other people? I think in Arena, this is a competitive mode where you're fighting other people for their position. You fight your best team against their best team. I think as a free-to-play player, once you get the right characters, I think you can relatively easily stay in the top 1,500 right here. Again, I spent what, maybe $10-15 over the 2.5 years I've been playing this game. I'm in the top 1,500 of the Arena. To be fair, I've been playing since launch, but if you had yourself the Symbiotes team, I think you could be getting to the top of the Arena relatively easily as well. And if you start getting legendary characters like Phoenix and Black Bolt, you can probably get even higher. I think I'm going to start trying to do that relatively soon. If you happen to get Ebony Maw, very far down the line, but if you did happen to get Ebony Maw, then you're just as good as anyone else in the game because nobody has Dr. Doom yet. Once people start getting Dr. Doom, Arena might get a little messy, but until then, Black Order, that's all you need to get to the top of Arena. Campaigns, the only problem you can run into campaigns is I think some of them are relatively hard if you don't have specific legendary characters. Like, for example, in Doom War right here, this first one requires X-Men or Inhumans. If you didn't have Black Bolt or Phoenix, I think this is almost impossible to do. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But again, those are legendary characters. That's just a time investment to get them. And you're not going to be going into Doom War until much later in the game, so I wouldn't be concerned about that. For example, the Nexus campaign right here, I think the Nexus campaign is very achievable. I think you can make it through the Nexus campaign relatively easily as a free-to-play player. Plus, you have the Villains and the Heroes campaign, and Mystic, and Cosmic, so a ton of characters you can farm before you even have to look at Doom War campaign. Alliance raids, I think you can clear this relatively easily, especially the alpha, beta, and gamma raids. You can clear that without even looking at it. It's so easy. I think those are really easy raids to clear, at least to get 5 or so. If you're in a casual alliance, you probably want to be clearing like at least 5 nodes a day. You can easily clear 5 nodes in alpha, beta, and gamma with like most characters in the game. I can clear Ultima 7. I'm running it on difficulty 1 with an alliance. I just run symbiotes. I don't even look at it. So again, I think raids are very achievable as a free-to-play player. I think you can do that pretty easily. Again, technically not free-to-play, but I'm very close to free-to-play, so I think my progression follows a similar curve to a free-to-play player. Alliance War, that can get a little messy because technically, yes, if somebody spent more money than you, they would have better teams than you, and they would be able to outplay you in Alliance War. And you can buy boosts and stuff like that with premium currency. So Alliance War isn't perfect in the fact that you can kind of pay your way to victory in it if you really wanted to. But if you're like me and you're in a relatively casual alliance, and you fight in Alliance Wars, but it's not the end of the world if you lose them, I think you still get a good amount of currency for losing Alliance Wars. So I don't think it's too bad if you're losing Alliance Wars. Plus, I think it's still pretty frequently you'll go against teams in Alliance War that you can pretty easily beat. So I don't think Alliance War is that bad in terms of being a free-to-play player. Really, the only problem in all of Marvel Strike Force, I think, is Dark Dimension. Once you start getting up to really Dark Dimension 2 and beyond, you start needing mini uniques and stuff like that to level up characters, and those are not farmable. I believe Gear Tier 14 mini uniques are going to be farmable soon in Doom War Chapter 3. If that's true, Dark Dimension 3 is now free-to-play friendly. Until that is completely true, though, Dark Dimension 3 will not be free-to-play friendly. Dark Dimension 4 is definitely not free-to-play friendly, though, because you cannot get a lot of these Gear Tier 15 mini uniques right now in the game unless you're spending money or waiting for them to drop slowly from the store. I don't consider that free-to-play friendly. But everything else in this game is very free-to-play friendly. I think the PvP modes are pretty free-to-play friendly. Alliance War, worst case scenario, you're getting destroyed. You're still getting a decent amount of credits to help you progress in the game. Alliance raids, you can clear those. Campaigns, you can clear those. I think everything in this game is very achievable except for Dark Dimension, but we'll just that's a pretty side mode. You only get to run that 2 times for each Dark Dimension. For some reason they haven't made you be able to run it multiple times yet, but I wouldn't get too mad that you're not able to enter Dark Dimension 4 as a free-to-play player. So with that being said, I hope I can provide a different perspective for a lot of you guys that are thinking about whether or not Marvel Strike Force is free-to-play friendly. I'm not saying the game's perfect. I think definitely the legendary event rotation, they need to take a look at that. I think training modules need to drop at a much higher rate than they currently are. Battle Pass, I'd really like to see what that looks like. I am a touch nervous about that. I'd like to just make sure they're not messing it up with that. But I think overall, people are really going crazy with how not free-to-play friendly Marvel Strike Force is. And I'll see a lot of people say sort of like a backhanded it's free-to-play comment, like, yeah, it's free-to-play as long as you don't like keeping up with everyone. But I think you can still play this game, have a ton of fun, and not be like #1 player in the world, because of course you're not going to be the #1 player in the world in any mobile game in the world. If you want to be the #1 player, you need to spend money. I don't know who, if you're free to play and you're going into the game like, you're telling me I can't be the #1 player without spending money, like you're going into the wrong type of game. I think you could still have a very competitive experience with like-minded people in these lower brackets of Alliance, where they're still, I'm wearing like gold my alliance, like that's still upper echelon in the grand scheme of alliances. But not a bunch of whales fighting each other. We're just people that played the game for a while, relatively free to play, competing with each other, and it's still a competitive experience. I'm not a huge fan when people say, yeah, you can be free to play as long as you don't like being competitive, because you can still be competitive just with the other free to play people. But at the end of the day, what do I really know? Because I am only a 19-year-old. I hope everyone can have a happy and healthy day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Signing off, everyone.